Okay, so we were holding in Masechet Sanhedrin. We're on Daf Nun Bet Amud Bet. We're middle of the four modes of execution. Right. So if the betin, the witnesses came and they went through the whole process, and they have now said that this man is guilty, and they're giving off his verdict. There are four different modes of execution that we already spoke about: skila, sreifa, hereg, and chenek. So skila is stoning. We already dealt with the process of stoning. We talked about Sreifa. And now, this week, we're going to begin talking about the mitzvot haneheragin, says the Mishnah on Nun Bet Amud Bet, the first Mishnah on the page. So, mitzvot haneheragin, the mitzvah for those who are to get beheaded. So, the third of the four modes of execution is with a sword. They would behead the person. Hayu, what would they do? Matizin et rosho b'sayif kederach shehamalchut osa. They would chop off his head with a sword, like the way the governments do. For example, in the times of the Talmud, the Roman governments, they would actually behead someone. They would take a sword and they would kill him. How they would kill him? They would kill him. They take the sword and they would kill the person from the front of his body. So they would edge of the sword and they would slice off his head from the front. It means decapitating them, taking off their head, and starting from the front, meaning you're gonna cut the trachea and esophagus first, and not from the neck, not from the back. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Nivul, nivul hu lo." It's disgraceful for him to do this. The way Rashi understands is because the guy is standing, and then you chop off his head, and then his whole body falls, and it's quite grotesque and it's quite disgusting. We shouldn't do it that way. Ela, what should you do? Manichin edrosho al hasadan bekotetz bekofitz. Take this man, put his head on a block. So you get a piece of wood, and you're going to put his head on this piece of wood, and then you're going to chop it from the back, from his neck. You're going to chop it with a axe, with a kofitz, a cleaver, an axe. So Amrullah, the Chacham said to him, if you were worried about his body falling, and that's why you say it's disgusting, Ein mita manuvelat mizu. What you're describing is even more disgusting. You're putting him like on a chopping block, right? Like he's a piece of meat, and you're just cutting off his head. You're using an axe, which is not as sharp as a sword, and with the axe coming down, it might mutilate his body more than it would if it was a sword. So you're trying to say what we're saying is disgusting to do, but your mode of execution is even more problematic. Now the question is, when the Torah says hereg, to kill someone with a sword, what did it actually mean? So the way most Rishonim understand this is that there's really no one specific way. It could be one or the other. You can choose to kill with the sword. You can choose to kill with the axe, and each one is saying which one is a better process to do. So from the Torah, it could be either or, but which is the best process? That is the question. That was the machloked of Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim. So the Gemara is going to bring a Tosefta. Right, Tosefta is one of the Braitot, and there it's going to say a little further of the discussion that they had. Tanya, it was torn in the Braita. Amar lehen Rabbi Yehuda leChachamim. So Yehuda said to the Chachamim, Afani Yodea Shemita Minovelity. I also know that this mita, this a form of death that I'm prescribing over here, to put the guy on a chopping block and chop off his head with an axe, is quite disgusting. Aval ma e'eseh. What can I do? Sharei Amra Torah. The Torah says, "Uchukoteim lo telechu." Don't go in the ways of the goyim. Uchukoteim, and their chokes, and what they do, we are not to follow. Now, Rabbi Yehuda says, you guys told me you should kill him with the sword from the front, just like the governments do, but I can't do that because the pasuk says you can't follow what the goyim do. Lo telechu. So therefore, since they do it, we can't do it, and we have to do something else. So therefore, put his head on a chopping block and chop it from the back with an axe. So it's not the same as what they do. The Rabbanon and the Rabbanon, what do they say? Since it says to kill with a sword in the Torah, it says to do hereg, one of the modes of punishments. We're not learning it from the Gaim. We're learning it from the Torah. The Torah says to do it. There's nothing to do with because it's not that they're doing it. Rather, we're doing it because the Torah says to do it. Because if you didn't say this way, Hadatanya, Sarfin al Malachim, we learned in Maseches of the Zara and Daf Yud Aleph and Aleph that there is a mitzvah from the Torah that when a king passes away, we burn his possessions as covered, that no one else should use anything that belonged to the king. So how do we do this? How do we burn things? It says that don't follow the way of the Gaim. And the Gaisha kings do this too. They burn everything. They even burn their wives, some of them. Right? They do the burning. So how can we you can't follow in the way of the Gaim. And how do we do it? Since the Torah says you have to do it, right? At the Chtiv, as it says, where in the Torah do we see? We don't actually see it in the Torah itself. We see it in the Navi that Yirmiyahu, right, the prophet Jeremiah, gives a prophecy to King Tzidkiyahu, and he tells King Tzidkiyahu, "Uvesifrot avotecha," and like the fires for your fathers that preceded you, so too they shall make a fire for you and burn your stuff. Even though you're living around the times of the Galut, the times of the exile, still you will have the kavod of your stuff getting burnt, he tells Tzidkiyahu. Now, interesting, we know a derech klal, we know a general rule. We don't learn a din, a halacha, a law from the Nevi'im. We only learn laws of the Torah, laws of the mitzvot, from the Torah itself, the 5 books of Moses, not from the Nevi'im. This is from a Navi, Yirmiyahu. So how are we learning from here? So what they say is that a Navi, so they say, they brought this case of Yirmiyah telling Tzidkiyahu. They didn't bring other cases in the Navi, right, where they actually did it for Shlomo Mel, they did it for David Mel, they burnt his stuff, where the story is told. They didn't bring those cases. Why? Because those are just stories. But here it's a Navi telling Tzidkiyahu what will be. And when you give Nevuah, we know if the Navi makes up his own halachos, no one's allowed to listen to him. So the fact that the Navi is saying this, it's showing it's Al Pi Hashem, and therefore it has some sort of a status as if the Torah says it's a mitzvah. So therefore, since the Torah says it's a mitzvah, and even though the Gaim do this, we're allowed to do it. So here too also, Kivan Dichtiv Saif Be'oraita La Minoy Ka Gamrinan. Since the Torah said to kill with a sword, therefore is not considered as we're following the Gaim. So it comes out from our Gemara, right? It's Machokas Rabbanon and Rabbi Yehuda. It says it in the Torah, and something that Gaim do, can we still do it? And seems to be from our Gemara that the Rabbanan say that even if the Gaim do it, as long as it says it in the Torah, one can also do it, and it's not considered uchukotayim lo te lechu. Now, this is this sugya, this topic of chukotayim lo te lechu is a very big topic. There's a lot of halachot if you can do certain things that Gaim do. So I want to stop here for a second or two to try to give us a little bit of the parameter, a little bit of understanding of the halacha of chukotayim lo te lechu. Okay, so we said our Gemara, and we said what we learned in our Gemara. Our Gemara said that if the Torah says to do it, and it's something Gaim do, the Torah says to do it, you can still do it. But that's not entirely right. There's a Gemara that we mentioned on Daf Yud Aleph, Amid Aleph, and Avodah Zarah. The Gemara there says about the burning. The Gemara says, why are we allowed to do burning? Why are we allowed to do burning? They are doing it for Avodah Zarah. So why are we allowed to do it? Even if the Torah says, right? Even if the Torah says, why are we allowed to do it? So the Gemara ends up in saying, oh, they're not doing it for Avodah Zarah. Rather, they're doing it for kavod of the king. So it's not avodah zarah. So says Tosfot over there. Tosfot brings our Gemara and says, but our Gemara seems to be, even if they're doing it, but the Torah says to do it, you can do it. But here it says, even if they're doing it for avodah zarah, you still can't do it. So Tosfot has a definition, and this is a halachic definition. So Tosfot says as follows: something that's done by Goyim for avodah zarah, we are not allowed to do it, even if it's written in the Torah. Again, something that's done by Goyim for their avodah zarah, for their avodah zarah, and even if it's written in the Torah that we're to do it, now we don't do it because they're doing it for avodah zarah. But if they're doing something for no reason, or they're doing it for fun, or they're doing it for something else, then if the Torah writes to do it, then we could do it. Then we can do it. Otherwise, if it's not in the Torah, then you can't do it. So Tosfot's definition is that, again, just to get this clear, because this is a halachic topic that comes up. So if it's written in the Torah, it depends. If they're doing it for avodah zarah, then we cannot do it. So if they were burning the stuff of the king for avodah zarah, then we would not be allowed to do it. Even the Torah says to burn for the king. But if they're doing it for no reason, or they're doing it for stam because they decided to do it, but it's not for avodah zarah, and the Torah says to do it, then you are allowed to follow it. You're allowed to do it, okay? Because it's written in the Torah, even though that they're doing it, as long as it's not for avodah zarah. Okay, that's Tosfot's definition. Halacha. There's a maharik and there's a ran. Okay, the maharik and the ran, they both say as follows. There are two problems for following the ways of the Goyim. This is the two problems that they bring. So if it doesn't have any of these two problems, then you're allowed to do it. Problem number one is if it's clearly based on avodah zarah. Okay, 1A is if it's clearly based on avodah zarah. 1B, if it's the logic behind them is unknown. They're doing something without logic, so we have to be worried that maybe it used to be for avodah zarah. So if it's done clearly for avodah zarah, or if it's done for no reason, right? For no reason, like superstitions, like the 13th floor is a bad floor, or the black cat is a problem, or the mirror breaks is a problem. These type of things that have no real reasoning behind them, you're not allowed to follow them because they're avodah zarah. They could be possibly avodah zarah, or anything that they do because of avodah zarah, we can't do it. The other problem too, if what they're doing is a breach of tzniut or of Jewish standards and of Jewish practice. So they're starting to do some new mode of fashion dress. And the fashion dress that they're doing is it's lacking in tzniut. It would be forbidden to follow those trends because of those issues. So this is the maharik, this is the ran, this is the way the Ramah also brings it down the Shulchan Aruch. And this is the way the Yalkut Yosef also says it. Yalkut Yosef in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, Sherdea, Kuf Ein Het Zayin. I want to read to you the lashon of the Yalkut Yosef. So this is Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef writing. Haskama na poskim Rishon v'Achronim shein iser v'chukoteim lo tilechu noheg ele k'sha'osid davar mishuna she'ein bo tam klal. You're not allowed to follow the Goyim's things. It only is if you're doing something that they're doing weird or strange that has no reason to it. El sha'akim osim kan. Rather, the only reason why you want to do it is because they're doing it. That's what it means. Bleat tam sabir with no reason. It shows that you're following them and you are agreeing to them. And we're worried that really it's coming from a place of avodah zarah, and over time they forgot it. And so too, something that is not tzniut, something that breaks the geders. Something that goes out from the way that we practice, and the Goyim are doing it. And you're doing this because you want to be like the Goyim, copy them. This is also an issa. But if you're doing something that's not related to these two, it's not something that's not tzniut, and it's not something for no reason, then you're allowed to do this. So the example that they give is a simple example they give is a Doctors' lab coats. So a lot of doctors wear white coats, right? So it's something that the Goyim started. Are we allowed to do it? So what's the reason why they're doing it? They're doing it for a reason. It's not for no reason. They're doing it for a reason. So someone can recognize that this man, he's gone to university, he's studied medicine, he knows something. He's someone you should ask your questions to. So then it doesn't have. It's not they're doing it for no reason, and it's not part together. It's not breaking any fences. It's not going against the standards of Jewish practice. So therefore, it would be mutar. Okay, so that is the idea. Just want to bring down. There's a Rambam. There's a Rambam that talks about this, and he writes about Chukateim lo tilechu. Just listen to the words of the Rambam. Chukateim lo tilechu. Shaloi tilchu b'nimusut shelahem. Shouldn't follow their social customs. B'davarim achachukim, their customs. Lehem kagain taritiot, v'karsiot, v'astriot. We shouldn't follow their theaters and their circuses and their arenas, the places for idol worship. You can't build structures like they do. You shouldn't even dress the way they dress. So it's we have to be different from them. We have to be able to stand out from them. Any questions on understanding the parameters of Chukotayim Lo Tilechu before I move on to one example? Everyone's okay with the definition and the parameters? Okay, so let's talk about one case. The case of Thanksgiving. Okay, so Thanksgiving. Can a person celebrate Thanksgiving? Is it considered maybe can't follow what the Goyim do, or maybe it's not? So let's think it through. The poskim, there are really three shitot when it comes to Thanksgiving. Now, I know a lot of Bukharians have started celebrating Thanksgiving. I don't know if they celebrate it the way the Americans do, but can a person go to a Thanksgiving dinner? Can a person host a Thanksgiving dinner? So the strongest of opinions, this is Rabbi Yitzchak Hutner, this is Rabbi Menashe Klein, and other poskim, who say that what is Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving was the pilgrims came to America. They didn't have food, and then they found the turkey, and they started eating it, and they had thanks for that. So they say, who were they thanking? Right? These were Christians. So they were thanking their God. Right. And for Jews, the God of the Christians is considered Avodah Zarah. Right. For Goyim, it's not considered Avodah Zarah, maybe. But for Jews, the Christian belief in the Trinity would be considered Avodah Zarah. And so since it's Avodah Zarah, so they're thinking Avodah Zarah. So the whole holiday is based on Avodah Zarah. Therefore, it'd be forbidden to celebrate Thanksgiving. And that is the strongest of opinions, that it'll be forbidden to celebrate Thanksgiving. Rav Moshe Feinstein has multiple tshuvos, multiple answers on this topic in his Igros Moshe, and he's hesitant. Rav Moshe never clearly said that it is mutter, that it's mutter. He never said that. He says it's not really Avodah Zarah. He says because you don't find it. You look at if you go to the major churches, you don't see Thanksgiving being made as a Christian holiday. If you go to the Vatican in Italy and in Rome, and you look up the days of the Christian holiday, Thanksgiving doesn't make it. It's an American holiday. It's not really a Christian faith-based holiday. So therefore, he says it's not Avodah Zarah, but they and he says there might be different problems. It might be they doing it and they don't know why they're doing it. If it's no reason for why they're doing it, then it may be a problem, right? It might be from Avodah Zarah originates. Remember, it has to be a reason why they're doing it. Then he says maybe that's not a problem. Maybe the problem would be that we're not allowed to establish another holiday. All of a sudden, we're making another holiday. We have to celebrate. You have to have this. You have to have the yams. You have to have that. Might be a problem like adding on mitzvos. People think they have to celebrate Thanksgiving. So there are opinions who say that if you're going to celebrate Thanksgiving, it shouldn't be done b'kviyas, it shouldn't be done every year. Shouldn't be done like I have to do it. Just I happen to have a party, and turkey seems to be cheap, and family is all from work, so we can get together. But it shouldn't be done something big kviut. Rebelsky says, he says, if you're doing it for patriotism, you want to show your patriotism to the country, then it'll be more of a reason to allow it. That would be the reason why they're doing it, to doing it for patriotism. But he says that doesn't seem to be why people are doing Thanksgiving, not because they're patriotic to the country. So he would say better not to do it. And then those who are moderate is Yoshi Ber Soloveitchik, Rabbi Heschel Schechter, who say that there is a reason for why they're doing it. They're being thankful, and it's not a avodah zarah. It doesn't come from avodah zarah, and therefore it'd be permissible. And it's not like we're doing it because we think it's a mitzvah. It's just that we have off and we're together, and turkey's cheap, and it's okay to do it even if you do it every year. But you can see how the Uchukutayim Lo Tilechu plays out in that concept. Okay. Any questions before we move on to the next Gemara? All right. Let us move on then. We are holding on 52B2, Nun Bet Amud Bet, and Vahad Tzanach Be'idach Pirkin. And now that we learned in the Mishnah, Elu Hein Hanir Hagen, we're going to learn that these are the ones that get the punishment of beheading, of Sayef, the sword. Who is it? Harotseach, a murderer. The Anshe Ir Hanidacha, and people of the Ir Hanidacha. If a city went off and started by the Zara, they get it by the sword. Bishlema, now by the Ir Hanidacha, I know that they get it because it says the fichar, by the edge of the sword, you have to kill them. Where in the Torah does it say that a Rotseach gets beheaded? That if a murderer kills someone and we have witnesses and everything, that we're going to chop his head off. Where do we get this? Where it says the Tana Nakom Yinakem. It says Nakom Yinakem. Where is this Nakom Yinakem? So if you take a look in the Torah or Hashalom, in Pasuk Hey, he brings down over here. It's talking about Chiyake Ish et Avdo o et Amato. The master he hurts and he kills his servant or maidservant. Umei tachad yado, and he dies because of that. Nakom Yinakem. You have to take a vengeance for the killing of his servant, and you have to kill the master. So it says Nakom Yinakem. You have to take the vengeance, but it doesn't say how to take the vengeance and how to kill the master because of him killing his servant. So how do we know this? Nikima zu any mahu. I don't know what this Nikima means, how to punish the master. But then we have in Parshat Bechukotai, where it says that if the Jews go against Hashem, Hashem is going to make a nekama, he's going to take a vengeance. And it says, no kemet nekam birit. I'll bring upon a sort of nekama, a sort of avenging upon you for breaking the covenant. So there it says no kemet, and it says the word cherev, sword. So we see that it means a sword. So over there, if a person kills his servant or maidservant, he gets avenged, the maidservant gets avenged by killing the master with a sword. The Gemara says, 1 second. The Ema, the bar is lemivras. How do I know you have to kill him by chopping off his head? Perhaps what I have to do is stab him, right? It says to use a sword, so maybe I just have to stab him. Why does it say, why do you tell me I have to slice his head off? Gemara says, lefi charev kitiv, because it says, lefi charev, to the edge or the mouth of the sword. Lefi means the edge or the mouth of the sword. And the way Rashi explained this, lefi charev kitiv, so Rashi says, Rashi's in the middle of the page, and he says, Pifios shel cherev shnei tzadim mikan mikan dichtiv. Ucherev pifios, says in Tehillim, cherev pifios, that a sword has 2 mouths. Alma train ninhu. That must be the 2 sides of the sword. So each side of the sword is considered a mouth. And here it says, lefi charev. So fi is 1 mouth. So therefore you have to slice him with the sword, because if you stab somebody, you're using the top, which is the 2 sides together. And that'd be fifiot and not lefi. So therefore, you know you have to slice. So the Gemara says, "Ve'emo the ovel legistra." Okay, so maybe I have to slice, but why do I have to slice his neck off? Maybe I can slice um, vertically his body into two. How do I know I have to do the neck? So back to our famous principle, they have to the recha kamocha, right? Barilo and mita yafa. Says you have to be you have to love your friend like yourself, meaning that even if the person has to go through an unpleasant experience, you should choose the most pleasant of unpleasant experiences. Don't do it any worse, and cutting the guy in half obviously is more painful and is more humiliating. It's more disgusting. It's more gruesome. So we rather just chop the neck off if we have to do it. So the Gemara says, Ashichon nikotel avda. So now we found the source for someone who killed his slave or maidservant. Bar chorin monolon. How do we know if you kill a free person that you also get killed by the sword? How do we know a Rotzeach who killed a free person gets punished by beheading? Isn't it not a kal v'chomer? Kotel of the Messiah. If you kill a servant with a sword, are you telling me for a free man you should go down to the last level of a chenik? Remember, anytime the Torah doesn't specify which punishment we give him chenik. So since it says by Ritzech, it doesn't say what to do. Should we give him chenik, strangulation? But strangulation is one level down from herring. If you kill a servant, you get punished with herring with the sword. Are you going to tell me if you kill a free man, you go down to chenik? No, so it must be also get herring. Gemara says, "Hani chalamanda amam chenikal," who says that chenik is the fourth and the lowest of the punishments, right? And that's the chachamim. Elamanda amar chenik chamer ma'ilkim. But what about Rav Shimon Bar Yochai? Rav Shimon Bar Yochai said that it is chenik and then herring. So chenik is third. So elamanda amar chenik chamer ma'ilkim. So maybe I should go because here he's getting saif according to Shimon Bar Yochai. That's the least. So maybe I should give chenik, which is the regular stam mita that you would give a person. Maybe I should give a Rotzeach who killed a free man. Maybe I should give him chenik because for Shimon Bar Yochai it is a level up. Maybe I should go up. So nafkale midetanya. So he derives it from this following bright that says in the bright there is a pasuk by an egla rufa va'atat tevayer adam hanaki mikirbecha. You have to remove the innocent blood from your midst. What does this mean? Egla rufa. What story? Everybody knows. If a person is found dead, murdered outside of a city, and we don't know where he came from, and we don't know who did it, the Sanhedrin Agadol comes out and calculates which city is the closest. And then, as it came from that closest city, would come, and they would bring in Egla Rufa, a young calf, and they would decapitate it on an untilled land, and they would go through a whole process and say, we didn't do it, we didn't see it, never would have happened if we would have known. We are potter from this, and that's the process of Egla Rufa. And you decapitate the Egel from his Rufa, from his neck. So the Hukshu kol shivchei dam Egla Rufa. So it also says by the murder, you have to kill him and get rid of murderers from your midst, right? It says there uva arta as well. So egla rufa. So we compare it to the egla rufa. Just like egla rufa, you have to decapitate the egla, and you decapitate him with a sword-like implement, and you do it from the neck. You also use a sword-like implement, and you kill him from the neck. Gemara says, wait, if you're comparing it to egla rufa, you know how you kill egla rufa? It's not like shchita. Shchita, you kill the animal from the front of his neck, and you do it quickly with a quick shchita knife. But by egla rufa, imala on the carpet, by egla rufa, we learn that you don't use a shchita knife. You use a axe, and you kill him from the neck down. You don't kill him from the throat. You kill him from the neck down when it comes to egla rufa. So if you compare it to egla rufa, so to here, if you're learning from egla rufa, then it should be also from the back and with a cleaver, with an axe, and not with a sword, and not from the front. You're right. We do learn in Regla Rufa, but not completely. Because why? Because we have here after the Reicha Kamocha, we have to find the nicest death. Barilo, Mita Yafa, and therefore, since we already said, killing from the front is faster, it's nicer, it's more, and sword is more smooth and more less injurious, doesn't mess up the body as much, and therefore that's the way we would do it. Any questions before we move on to the next Mishnah?
Yes.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, it must be beheading altogether. Like it's got to be a separation of the head and the body.
Yes.
It's got to be like we do the shechta of the animal. The
Majority.
majority.
From what we see, it has to be cut off completely. Yeah, the sword, and it comes straight off, it has to be sliced. You want to start from the throat, so he dies faster, but you have to go all the way. It's a good question. I'll look further into it. From my current understanding, that's what I understand. But I'll take a look further. Mitzvat hanechenokin. Now, the fourth and final of the modes of executions is the mitzvah of the strangulation, killing someone with strangulation. How do we do this? So it's similar to Sreifa. Let's see. Hayu mishakein oto bazevel ad arkuvotav. They would submerge him in manure up to his knees. Remember, we did that for the Sreifa person also. We don't want them to move. We don't want to, draw out the process. So we put him in manure up to his knees. You put a hard scarf inside a soft scarf to try to make the least damage to his neck. And then this one pulls, this witness pulls on this side, this one pulls on that side, until his soul departs. So we're not breaking his neck, rather we're choking him out until he dies. Okay, so that's the process for strangulation. Tanu Rabbona. Now, we already learned, and it's the last pasuk over here in the Torah or Hashalom. If a person if a woman who's married commits adultery, she and her paramour, the one that she's with, they both get chenek. They both get strangulation. So let's take a look at this writer that looks at that pasuk and tells us what's excluded. Ish, says in the pasuk, Ish, a man who commits adultery, prat lekata. This excludes a minor. Okay, if a minor is with a woman, then she does not get killed. He doesn't get killed. However, there's a difference here. A minor for the woman is considered a boy less than 9. If she had relations with a boy over 9, she would still get strangulation. He would not, because he's still a katan. But for the bia of a 9-year-old would have significance, and therefore she would get killed, but he would not. But if he's less than 9, okay, let's say he's 8, and she was with him, then none of them get punished. None of them get get killed because of that. Then the pasuk says, "Asher yinafet eshet ish," who had relations with a married woman. Prat le'eshet katan. Okay, if a katan got married, I mean he's a young guy, he's not a gadol yet, and he has a wife, and another man was now with his wife. It's not considered that they did anything illegal, because a katan cannot have kiddushin chal. You can't get married as a katan, and since he got married as a katan, or he thinks he's married as a katan, it's not really considered kiddushin. And kiddushin wasn't chal. Therefore, if someone was with his so-called wife, the katan's so-called wife, they're not over eshet ish, because she's not really married, and therefore no one gets the punishment of chenek. Eshet re'eu, as in pasuk, you can't be with your neighbor's wife. It's coming to exclude the wife of others. This means the wife of a guy. Okay, so Rashi understands this to mean that if there is a guy who's married to a Jewish girl, and now this Jewish man has relations with this Jewish girl who's married to a guy, since a guy cannot marry a Jew, it's not considered real kedushin. Therefore, she's not considered an Ashet Ish, and therefore they do not get chenik. They won't get killed. The others explain it is even if he's with a Geisha woman who's married to a Geisha man, right? Even so, it's still not considered kedushin. The Goyim don't have a din of kedushin in their marriages. Therefore, if there was a Jewish man who was with a Geisha wife of a Geisha man, it's not considered adultery to the sense that it is a sin and it is illegal and you should not be doing it, but not to the sense that you will get chenik. Okay, Israel pratlation acher mot yumat, they shall be put to death. It means you kill them with chenik. Remember, anytime Torah prescribes a death without saying what type of death, we have the assumption that it's chenik. So we're going to see where this assumption comes from and how we apply it. So Ata Amr b'chenik, Gemara says, you say it's strangulation. Oh, Eino elu ba'achas mikol mitot ha'moras b'Torah. But maybe no. Maybe it's not chenik. Maybe it's one or the other. Interesting. The Farshim explained that in the Torah, we do find the punishment of skila. It says this person gives skila. We find the punishment of sreifa. Give this person sreifa. Find the punishment of hereg, of sword. But nowhere in the Torah do you ever find explicitly, specifically, the farish that it says punish someone with chenek. So the Gemara says, you telling me chenek, but maybe I should do one of the others that are actually mentioned in the Torah. So Amarta, we say, we have a teaching. Anywhere it says in the Torah, a regular mita, someone just killed them. You have no right to make it the strictest of punishments. Rather, you have to make it the most lenient of punishments, right? If it just says kill, you cannot assume it means to kill him the harshest way. You have to assume to kill him the lightest way, and that is chenek. This is Rabbi Yoshia. Rabbi Yonatan Omer. Rabbi Yonatan says, nah, not because chenek is the lightest of them all. Because remember, Shimon Bar Yochai said chenek, strangulation, comes before the sword. The sword is the lightest according to Shimon Bar Yochai. So rather, anytime it says mita in the Torah, it means chenek, strangulation. Rabbi says, why is this right? What's Rabbi Yonatan's shot? Right? Namar mita b'dei shemayim. We have in the Torah by Ir ve'onan, the two children of Yehuda supposed to marry Tamar. They're not marrying Tamar. They're not having relations with her. They're doing sin to Hashem. So it says Hashem takes them and he kills them. Now, it says that he killed them. And here it says you have to kill this person. So the lashon of killing is in both places. So we say, V'nemar mita b'dei Adam, and it says there mita b'dei Adam. Ma mita omer b'dei shemayim. Just like when Hashem killed Onan, when Hashem killed someone himself, mita she'ein bo roishem. How does a regular person die? You don't see any marks on the body that he was killed. He dies because Hashem takes away his neshama. Mita omer b'dei Adam. So therefore, if it just says a regular death, we have to try to do it like a mita of b'dei shemayim. Try to do it with the least possible mita she'ein bo roishem, with a death that doesn't have much of a marks afterward. It should be with the least amount of marks on the body. So the Gemara says, 1 second, but we have sreifa. Sreifa is also, we said, you burn the internal part of the body, but the outside of the body remains intact. So why not sreifa? Since the Torah says that if a bat kohen commits adultery, she gets burning, miklal the halab bat sreifahi. That teaches us that a bat Yisrael doesn't get sreifa. So you can't say it's the punishment mot yumat means sreifa, because here they have to get mot yumat, they have to get killed, but it can't be sreifa because a priest's daughter who commits adultery gets burning, but not a regular Israelite's daughter would not get Sreifa. So it must be there's a step down from Sreifa that also has no Roshim, has no marks left over, and that is the punishment of Chenik. That's the way Rabbi Yehuda explains Rabbi Yonatan of why it's always Chenik. Has to be like V'dei Shemayim, and that's what we choose. Vishleim and Rabbi Yonatan, as we're starting Nun Gimel Amal Aleph. Vishleim and Rabbi Yonatan. Everything makes sense according to Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi explained his reasoning. Rabbi Yoshina, according to Rabbi Yoshia, where do we know chenik at all? Nowhere in the Torah does it ever say chenik. It says skila streifa, and it says and it says herring. Where does it say chenik? Right? There's no chenik. Now Rebbe said you need something like streifa, but not streifa. So that's chenik. You have a reason to make it up, reason to have it. But Rabbi Yoshia, where do you get chenik from? So Ema Saif, so give him the least punishment, which is going to be, if you only have 3, it's going to be the sword, skila sefer, herig, and then chenik. It's like chenik is gone, so you have herig is last. So kill the guy with the sword. So Amarava, no. Arba mito gemara gemira lahu. The 4 punishments of Yoshia said was actually a halacha Moshe me Sinai. It was halacha Moshe me Sinai. That's why he has the 4. And Rashi says in Nun Beit that it was the 4 was given Malach Moshe Sinai, and the order was given also. So chenik is the least of the punishments, and therefore you give that when it's a stam punishment because you have no right to give him a harsher punishment. My loy pnei shikala. What does Rabbi Yonatan mean when he says not because it is lenient? Not chenik is not lenient because Rabbi Yonatan he holds against Shimon in the machlokes of Shimon ben Rabbanan of the order, and he says that chenik is 3rd and not 4th. Therefore, he says the reason why they get chenik is not because it's the most lenient, rather because you want to do a mita that's similar to mita v'dei shemayim that doesn't leave a roshim, doesn't leave a mark. Okay, we're coming finally to our final sugya for today. Our final sugya today is a question from Rav Zera. Okay, so let's take a look. Omer le Rav Zera le Abaya. Rav Zera said to Abaya, Sha'ar haniskalin. The other punishments of skila, the lo k'tibahu skila, that are not written by skila. Okay, so there are 8 cases where the Torah clearly writes the punishment is skila. You look at note 4 in the art scroll, it tells you the cases. Idolatry, right? Someone who commits over the zara. Na'ara hamorasa, right? Adultery with a betrothed na'ara. Shabbat, Mechal Shabbat. Doing the magic of Ov Yidoni. Blasphemy, right? Which is cursing Hashem. Molech, putting your child in between the 2 fires of the Molech, of the Avodah Zarah. Causing someone to do Avodah Zarah. And a Ben Sora and More. So these ones, it says Beferish each time in the Torah, it says explicitly that it says these people get skila. But we're going to see in the next Mishnah, there's a total of 18 cases of when a person gets skila. So what about the other 10? Where do we get it from? It doesn't say in the Torah they get skila. So how do we know to give them skila? So he says, how do we know? The Gamrim Ov Yidoni. We learned it from the pasuk about Ov and Yidoni, about the magic people, the necromancers who bring up the dead spirits. Many Rishonim say that they actually did do this, and it was possible, and there's spirits and there's magic. But famously, it's well known that the Rambam held that there was no such thing as magic, and all this is just illusions, and there were tricks, and there were charlatans and con artists, but not it wasn't actual. But anyway, this Ovid Oni, there's a pasuk about the Ovid Oni. Look at note 5. The pasuk says, "The Isha Kievahem Ovid Oni Motu Matu Be'evan Yergamu Otam Timehem Bum." That's the pasuk. So now we learn it from here. But my government, which part of the pasuk do we learn it from? Do we learn it from Mot Yumatu Gomre, or B'Timehem Bum Gomre? Do we learn it from the words Mot Yumatu, or do we learn it from the words Timehem Bum? So Abaya now answers Rav Zera, and he says, Amrle, Rabbi answers Rav Zera, "B'demehem demehem bum gamre." We learn it when two psukim have the word demehem bum. The Ovid only have the word demehem bum. If there's another case in the Torah where it says demehem bum, then we know to give them skila. Why? The iba mot yumatu gamre. If you would have learned it from mot yumatu, demehem demehem lamali, then why would I need the words demehem demehem? Why would I need it? So therefore, don't learn from mot yumatu because learn from demehem because otherwise demehem them would be extra. The Gemara says, one second. If you're going to learn from demehem demehem, then mot yumatu is extra. So mot yumatu lamali. Why do I need the word mot yumatu? What are you learning with that? Kedetanya, wherever it says mot yumatu is coming to teach you something else. For example, it says mot yumat hamaker rotzeachu. It says you have to kill the one who's a murderer, put him to death. Mot yumat. What is it teaching us? I would think you can only kill the rotzeach with the sword, right? With the method of execution that's specific for that sin. You have to kill him with the sword. We learned that rotzeach gets the sword. So, what happens? Where do you learn from if you can't kill him with the sword? You can kill him anyway. What's an example? The Beitin says he has to be killed with the sword. They're going to kill him with the sword. He escapes. He runs. He's going to the port. He's going to the airport. He's going to the seaport. And he's taking a plane. He's taking a boat. And he's trying to run away. But the Beitin has a sharpshooter, whether he's a bow and arrow shooter or he's a sniper, and they can shoot him dead. But that's not his mode of execution. Mode of execution is to be beheading. How do I know I can kill him with any mode of execution? Mot yumat, kill him any way possible. So anywhere it says mot yumat in the Torah, it comes to teach us that if you can't kill him in the mode of execution that you're supposed to kill him in, then you can kill him in any mode, because it says the word mot yumat, that mikol makom you have to kill him. That's why the words mot yumatu in the pasuk is not extra, because you need to learn that you should kill the guy. You have an over, you only, you have to kill him with skila, but you can't kill him with skila. You can kill him with a sniper, then shoot him with a sniper, because you have to kill him any way possible. So therefore, the Gzeir Shavat Demehem Bam teaches us when you give someone skila. Okay, so very good. But now Rav Acha Medifti is going to ask Ravina on Rav Zeir. I'm going to Rav Acha Medifti Ravina. What was Rav Zeir's question? Why was he asking Mot Yumatu Demehem Bam? Which one do you learn it from? And when he said Demehem Bam, he didn't ask any questions. What would happen if Rav Abaye would say learn it from Mot Yumatu? What would be the question? What would be the problem with that? Biba Mot Yumatu Gomre, my kashile. If you learn from Mot Yumatu, what would be Rav Zeir's question? Why was he not happy with that? Why was he asking, do we learn it from there? Gemara says, tell you why. If you think his problem was Eshet Ish Kakashale, if you think it would be a problem with an Eshet Ish, right? Because it says by in no effort that we know he give her chenik, adulterer and adultery. You give her adulterer and adulteress, you're going to give them strangulation. But it says no effort, ma'ot yumat. So lameta lamigre mot yumat ma'ovidoni. So you would say, you know what? Compare it to if you're going to learn the Gzeir Shavar from Mot Yumat, from Ovid only from Mot Yumat, then you should say that the adulterer and adulteress also should get skila. Malaham skina afkam skila. So maybe that would be a problem. He said, no, that wouldn't be the problem. You're right, it says Mot Yumat. And you might think I should learn it from Ov and Yidoni where it says Mot Yumat, and that means skila, so here too also means skila. But I wouldn't say that. Why? Because the Torah already told us a betrothed, an engaged girl, the one who's an arusa, she gets skilled. That means an arusa gets skilled, but an asua doesn't. So I would never think that. Even though I have the word mot yumat, I wouldn't come to think that. So that couldn't be Rav Zeir's problem with it, because an arusa gets skilled and not an asua. So I don't care if it says mot yumat. I wouldn't think it's skill over there. The rather the problem would have been with the Rav Zeir's problem was where it says if a person strikes his parents, he gets strangulation. And also says over there, mot yumat. So I would say learn from the Ovid Oni that you should give him stoning. But rather, but why am I learning it from Ovid Oni? I should learn it from Eshedish because it also says mot yumat over there. But you have no right to choose a strict punishment when you can choose a lighter punishment, the strangulation. So Amrle, that's exactly it. Shan is scaling gufi kakashale. Every single case where you have to give skila, that exactly was the question. Diba ot yumat, because if you're going to learn from the words mot yumat gamre, ad gamre ovidoni, give me eshet ish. Because we know by an eshet ish, even though it says mot yumat, she still gets chenik, because an arusa gets skila and not the nesua. So mot yumat over there means chenik. But if I learn mot yumat from the ovi and oni, it means skila. So every other place where it says mot yumat, I'm not sure what to do. Either go chenik or go skila. I'm not sure. Should I follow the pasuk of noef and adulterer and adulterers, or should I follow the pasuk of the magicians of the ovi and oni, the warlocks? So which one do I follow? That was Rav Zer's question. If you're going to learn from mot yumat, you're going to be confused. Therefore, we don't learn from mot yumat. Rather, we learn it from the mehem bam, because the mehem bam, that's the only one by the ovi and oni. It's not by the noef and noef. It's not by the adulterer and adulteress. Therefore, you're not going to learn it from them that it should be chenik, but rather, Demehem Bam teaches us it's always going to be skila. So that is the din. That if it says Demehem Bam, make their shalva to the Ovid Oni, and we give them skila. Next week, as Hashem, we're going to do the next Mishnah, and the next Mishnah will list out the 18 cases of those who get skila. And we'll have to see the tukim, we'll have to see the reasons and everything else that is associated with that. Any questions? I'll take it at this time. Otherwise, we completed the Gemara for this week.
Thank you. Hazak Baruch.
Zak Yamaz V'Yavram. Toda Rabba.
Have a good one.
Okay. Yasher Koach.
Thank you.
Thank you, Toda Rabba. Thank you,
Baruch.
Rabbi Ephraim. Shavua Tov. Toda Rabba.